Welcome back, sports fans. To wrap up this final segment, I'm going to be discussing a little bit about what happened at the Texans Chiefs game last night in terms of the attendance, as I saw a little bit of the game as well as the majority of the pregame show. And I'm going to give my predictions for what I think is going to happen with coronavirus in the NFL this season. It was interesting with 16,700 fans in the stands. Normally there's a lot more people in an NFL game than that. I wanted to see what was going to happen, how that was going to be handled. Especially since I found out during the pregame show that they had cardboard cutouts there as well. Well, that having been said, it was kind of hard to tell the real people from the cardboard cutouts. But I thought all in all, it at least appeared a lot more packed than it actually was, and I was surprised that the people were not separated more so, for sure. At least so far, I've not heard any negative reports. I've heard no cases of coronavirus coming from that game. So I would say so far, even though we're only one game into the 2020 NFL season, I would say that's definitely a positive thing so far. In terms of my predictions for what I think is going to happen with coronavirus this NFL season, there are going to be some cases of it. I think even some main players are going to get it, unfortunately, for those teams, although fortunately perhaps for their opponents. How that's going to impact the team, how they respond to it, will depend on the team, obviously, but how well the team is unified, as well as the coaching, I would say. So that'll be interesting to see. It'll also be interesting to see if we get really late into the season and you have a playoff spot in the line, and let's say we're in the last 2-3 weeks of the season and somebody comes down with coronavirus, how a team's going to handle that and what the response is going to be to it, for sure. So, there's a lot that's up in the air right now, and I think a lot of people are even questioning whether or not this season's going to be completed. I'm not one of those people. I'm very optimistic that the NFL is going to learn a lesson from baseball for sure this year, and perhaps draw something from what's gone on with the NBA and NHL bubbles. I really think we're going to be able to get through a season without too many cases, solely because of the way that Roger Goodell has handled this, the Players Association has handled it, and the players themselves have handled it. And one thing that surprised me is while testing was supposed to be 3 times a week, the players actually lobbied to have themselves tested every single day. So with the cases so far having been low, I can't imagine, unless somebody massively screws up, that suddenly you're going to have a lot of cases of it. And if somebody does, for those of you who may not know, the Indians actually traded away a player before the deadline who violated the coronavirus protocol and suspended another player, and actually suspended that player too before they traded him. And since then, there have been no cases within the organization that I'm aware of. Now, if that's how the Cleveland Indians are handling this, can you imagine what might happen if, let's say, a member of the Steelers did it, or the Patriots, or even the 49ers or Seahawks, let's say? So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this is handled once it occurs. And I don't think it's a question of if it's going to occur. I think it's a question of when it's going to occur. Because it is going to occur. It already has. It definitely already has. It's just a question of when. And I'm thankful to the extent that so far that not too many of the lines have had it. And then for those of you who may have heard, there was a false report about Matt Stafford getting it. Or he actually had a false positive, if you will. And that was the first time I'd heard of a false positive with the coronavirus testing. And that will do it for this abbreviated episode of Sports with Ed. Stay tuned tomorrow for the Detroit Lions tomorrow, where I will preview their game before they play the Chicago Bears at Ford Field. And I will break down the teams bit by bit. I will go over the injury reports, and I will have some other news and tidbits that you may not know about or have otherwise heard. So stay tuned tomorrow on Ed Sports Channel for that. And until then, Have a good day, drive safely, and take care. Goodbye for now.